Welcome to the channel. Today's story has big surprises and real drama. Subscribe and like to stay updated. Let's get started. I was jogging along the path between my small office and my house, about 2 miles away. It was an impromptu run. I was disappointed with some of the work-related materials that were sent to me in a very incomplete state. After about an hour of fiddling with it, I slipped out of my jeans and work shirt and into shorts, a t-shirt, sneakers, along with a pair of sunglasses and a headband. And I was off. I was going to run to my house to get some paperwork I needed, maybe 20 pages. When I was about half a mile from my house, I noticed a guy about 200 yards ahead. This was a little unusual since this path really only led to my house and hardly anyone used it. There was a cliff that led to the back of the house. The guy in front of me cut this piece off. It led nowhere but to a dead end into my back door. I quickened my pace, turned a small corner, and looked at the guy. He was at the back door to the patio of my house. I watched him open the door. It wasn't locked. I stopped to think about what I had seen. I knew that my wife, Rachel, was working from home that day. I ran to the door. It was locked, of course. I had the key and I used it. I quietly pulled back the patio door and looked inside. There was no one in the kitchen where Rachel usually worked. Some of her work documents and her laptop were lying on the table. I heard a noise upstairs, muted at the entrance from the dining room to the kitchen. I kept a baton like the ones the police used for protection. It belonged to my grandfather when he was actually a patrol cop. It was protective, but it also reminded me of him, the man I adored as a child. I took the baton and crept upstairs. The floors were carpeted, so this was not a problem. The door to the master bedroom was closed, and sounds were coming from there. The sounds were muffled, but I assumed they were intimate sounds. I grabbed the door handle, and when it turned, I carefully opened it. Imagine my surprise. The runner's clothes were lying on the floor, and he was just about to climb on top of my wife, my completely unclothed wife. I walked up to the bed and hit the guy in the fifth place with a baton. The slap was loud. He screamed and grabbed his fifth place. Rachel looked at me with wide eyes, wide arms, wide legs, and wide eyes. She shouted something. I recognized this guy as her boss, Simon Harrington. He rolled off Rachel and stood up from the bed, holding his fifth place. "Stop. I was invited," he said. I looked at Rachel. She said absolutely nothing. Simon said, "You better put it back, or I'll take it from you and kick your fifth place." He was bigger than me, older, about 36 or so. I was in my 30s. I heard that he was into martial arts. He seemed so confident as he threatened me, standing there without clothes with pale skin in my bedroom. I didn't know him very well, and he hardly knew me at all. One thing he didn't know was that I spent a lot of time playing tennis. I had a great backhand. I smiled at him. This seemed to drive him crazy. He roared, a roar like a wild animal, and launched at me from about 6 feet away. I hit him in the face with a backhand. He didn't have time to duck. The baton hit him on the right side of his forehead. I was aiming for the cheek, but he must have tried to duck as he walked towards me, and his head tilted down slightly. That's why the baton hit him on the forehead. He fell like a bag of cement. He didn't even move. When I looked down at him, I looked at Rachel. She was in some kind of trance, her eyes were glassy, and drool was running down her chin. I looked around the room and saw a cell phone on the dresser. It was in an upright position with the screen facing the bed. This son of a filmed everything. I picked up the phone, switched it so I could look at the telephone panel, and dialed 911. "What happened to you?" the operator asked. "My name is Evan Brooks. I'm at my house at 54 Maple Lane. A man was in my house, in my bedroom, when he attacked me. I hit him. I believe he is seriously injured and needs immediate medical attention. Besides, my wife is here, and I think she's, I don't know, on pills or something. She is conscious but unresponsive. We have people on the way, sir. If you are armed, please put your weapon down. They will approach your home with caution. Please understand." "I understand. I'll meet them in the front yard." I heard the sirens and went downstairs. I kept the phone with me. The line was open. I put the baton on the sofa and walked out the front door. I was standing in the middle of the front yard with my arms at my sides when a police car pulled up. An ambulance followed it. There were 2 officers, a man and a woman. They got out of the car, but did not take out their pistols. The woman, who seemed to be of higher rank, asked, "Are you Mr. Jackson?" "Yes, they're up there, see us off." I turned and walked back inside, and the officers followed me. I led them to the bedroom door and stepped aside. The door was open. Rachel was lying on the bed. She looked into space. Simon didn't move at all from what I could tell. A female officer knelt next to Simon and checked his pulse. She told another officer to call paramedics. Then she looked at Rachel and asked, "Ma'am, are you okay?" "Ma'am?" No answer. The doctors arrived, and I moved away. They worked feverishly on Simon. The second group of doctors arrived. The police officer, Sergeant Dana Morales, removed the robe from the closet door, lifted Rachel from the bed, and put on the robe. She led Rachel into the guest bedroom. She looked at me and pointed down. "Go there. Don't leave, but stay out of the way." I went into the kitchen and looked around. I downloaded the video from Simon's cell phone onto a small computer I kept in my desk drawer. Then I downloaded the entire contents of the phone into another file. I emailed the video to my office. Then I turned the thing off and left the phone on Rachel's desk. I watched from the kitchen doorway as the ambulance guys carried Simon out the front door, loaded him up, and sped off. A policewoman I had never seen before led Rachel into the living room, away from me. Rachel walked but didn't even look up from her feet. She was wearing a robe and some sneakers. Sergeant Hayden entered the kitchen with the plainclothes detective, a thin older man, Kevin Landry. She introduced him to me. He and I already knew each other. My legal practice was now primarily civil, but I had been doing criminal defense for some time, and Detective Dempster and I had a few cases together. I liked him and thought we got along well. "Hello, Evan. I'm sorry this all happened. Do you know the person you hit?" "My wife's boss, Simon Harrington." "Do you have information about his place of residence?" "We have his clothes, sports equipment, and credit card, but no ID." "I don't really know him at all, John. Last I heard, he was married and had kids in school. This was maybe a year ago. Did you have any reason to believe that he and your wife had intimate relations?" "No. Up to this day, no one told me how it happened, please." I went through everything from my decision to go for a run to relieve stress and pick up some paperwork, to calling 911. I didn't really miss anything. I had no reason to do this. "Did you recognize Simon when you were outside?" "No. When he rolled out of bed, that's when I realized who he was." "You hit him in the fifth place?" "Yeah, I didn't mean to cause any real harm, but I wanted this guy to get away from my wife, no matter what she wanted." "But then you hit him again? Why?" "Like I said, he told me to drop the club, or he would take it and beat me with it. Then he roared and rushed at me." "Roared?" "Yeah. Now I guess he was trying to scare me. He succeeded. I didn't aim at his forehead. I aimed lower. He must have ducked down or his head dropped lower." "Fine. Well, your wife isn't involved in this. We are testing her for the presence of any active substances. I believe that when she comes to her senses, she will confirm what you said. You know, John, the cell phone belonged to Simon. I believe he videotaped the intimate struggle. Maybe there's evidence there." Sergeant Hayden asked a crime scene technician to answer the phone. I asked him what would happen to Rachel. "I'm not sure. Let's go have a look." He and the sergeant and I entered the living room where Rachel was sitting with a uniformed officer and a medic. Detective Dempster asked the doctor, "What's wrong with Mrs. Jackson?" "We're going to take her to the county hospital as a precaution because she seems to be in shock. Her vital signs are fine." I looked at Rachel, and at that moment, she looked at me. A tear rolled down from her right eye. "I'm so sorry, Evan," she said. Then she seemed to fall into a trance again. "Rachel? Rachel." I was a little pissed when she disconnected again, but she didn't answer. A few minutes later, she was taken away in an ambulance. I changed into the clothes I had in the basement and followed us in our car. The police were in the house, but I was assured that they would lock the house or at least leave someone there. I called Rachel's parents, who lived one state away, about 4 hours away. I gave them the short version and told them I would call from the hospital. Rachel and I got married when she was 20, fresh out of college, where we met. I was 1 year away from graduating from law school. Rachel immediately got a job at Simon Harrington Insurance Company. It was a large company, and he was one of the 3 owners. She worked her way up steadily from clerk to administrative assistant. She was assigned to Daniel's department, housing, and automobiles. I attended company events with her and never noticed anything between the two. That was the first time I met the Daniels family. She has now worked for the firm for more than 5 years. I thought our marriage was strong. Until today, I had little doubt that the relationship I saw was consensual. So unless he somehow managed to pill her, this would most likely end our marriage. Given the circumstances, I didn't understand how he could pill her. There was no time. I thought she was waiting for him, probably without clothes, and she left the back door open. I wondered how many times this had happened. I loved Rachel. She was pretty, cheerful, and kind. Our intimate life was very good. Even when I was busy, we still found time at least on weekends. And now that I've largely given up criminal trials, my work has become much more predictable. I didn't understand what I was seeing. Daniels was a bigger man, but from what I saw today, not bigger where it would make a big difference, but I only took a glance. Who knows? At the hospital, Simon Harrington's wife was in the emergency room. I recognized her, but she didn't seem to notice me. I left everything as it was and asked about Rachel. They allowed me to return to the compartment where she was. She slept. I looked at her a little. I was lost. I couldn't believe she did this to me, to us. I had a deep need to understand what happened before I made difficult choices. A pretty woman dressed in a white robe entered the small room. "I'm Dr. Moore. Are you her husband?" I nodded. "What's wrong with her?" "She had some kind of mental trauma. She had a shock reaction that made her pass out. She didn't fall into a stupor. When she wakes up, it is very likely that she will come to her senses and become normal." "When will she wake up?" "Maybe 3 to 4 hours, depending on the dose we gave her." "Thank you. I'll be there." She was about to leave, but I stopped her. "What about Simon Harrington? How is he? Are you related?" "No, just an acquaintance." "Well, I shouldn't, but he's in a coma, medication-induced. He has a very serious head injury." She left. I thought about Daniels. I believed I killed him, and now maybe not. I called Rachel's parents and reported what I had been told. They decided to come to us, but I talked them out of it. I told them that Rachel most likely had an affair with her boss and that she and I needed to discuss it. Her mother, Linda Foster, said, "I've been thinking about her for the last few months. She seemed different, worried. Please give her a chance to explain everything, Evan." "Oh, I'll do that. I promise. It doesn't seem to do any good, though. We'll just see." I was looking for Mrs. Daniels and found her in the ICU waiting room. I approached her. "Hello, Mrs. Daniels?" "Yes. Do you want to say something?" "No, ma'am. I'm Evan Brooks. My wife, Rachel, works at your husband's company." It seems they were together. She was quite tall, slender, brown-haired, in her early 30s. She asked, "Together?" "Yes, they were, without clothes, in my bedroom when I came home this morning." "This kind of intimacy—" "Oh, you're the guy who hit him." "Yes, sorry." "I'm not sorry." "Okay. Simon has been strange lately." This got me thinking. He didn't play children's sports like he used to. He claimed he was busy at work. I think he was busy with your wife. I don't know that for sure, except for today, but they, of course, quickly got down to business like they had a routine. "What did the doctors tell you about how he's doing?" "They said neither one nor the other, although he may have surgery soon." "Well, good luck to you. Will you take your children?" "They're with my parents. They know he's in the hospital. Nothing special anymore." I went outside to get some fresh air and maybe clear my head a little. I decided not to make any decisions until I heard from Rachel. I stood there for an hour and then went back inside. Rachel was in the same room of the emergency room behind a curtain. I walked in on her, and she stirred but was still sleeping. I sat down in a chair and dozed off. I woke up when she started making sounds. Oh, she said. Her eyes flew open. She looked at me and closed them again. She started making a sound. I went for help. Dr. Moore was at the nurse's station, and I waved to her. She quickly approached. She seems to be waking up, although I'm not sure if I should be here when she does. She saw me and just passed out again. "Wait here." She entered. I could hear but not see. "How are you, Rachel? Can you tell me?" Rachel answered her in a weak voice. "Oh God, I'm sorry." "Rachel, we need you to be fully awake. You need to accept the situation, whatever it is, and move forward. Detachment simply cannot last long. I'm going to let you go this afternoon. Maybe in 4 hours." "Fine. Where's Evan?" "He was here when I first woke up. He thought you would have reacted better if he wasn't here, although he is somewhere nearby." I wonder how long this will last. I screwed up big time. What about Simon?" "Evan hit him. We don't know if he'll be okay or not. He'll probably have to have surgery." "Damn. Well, I told him not to be so adventurous. It was a bad risk. He lost. I bet I do too. Maybe you should talk to Evan. I'm sure I can find him. Or maybe I can wait until you get home." I opened the curtain and went inside. "Rachel, I'll take you home." "Okay. Thank you. I'm really sorry. We'll talk." I turned to Dr. Moore. "When can we leave?" "I'll start filling out the paperwork. We'll give her some medical clothes." She left. Rachel said, "I'm so sorry, Evan. Sorry, Evan. Sorry." It's just not a big deal. You have to understand. When we get home, Dr. Moore brought her a medical form. I left the stall while she was changing. She seemed to take this as a refusal, and so it was. I had no desire to see her without clothes, maybe never again. They put her in a wheelchair as I pulled the car to the exit. She got up and got into the car. We didn't speak for the 10-minute drive. Her tears flowed, but she did not cry. I opened the front door, and we walked into what was our happy home. There were no police there. There wasn't even much clutter downstairs. Rachel sat down in the rocking chair in the living room. I'm going to check upstairs. I'll be right back. I ran up. It was a complete mess up there. In our bedroom, there was a piece of carpet cut out where Daniel's fell. I guess I will do some research. The bed was stripped down to the mattress. The drawers were pulled out but not fully closed. I decided to tidy it up later. The other rooms were fine, except there were traces of fingerprint powder in the bathroom. I wasn't really looking forward to talking to Rachel. I called her parents and told them she was home. They breathed a sigh of relief but wanted to know if they should come. I didn't know what to say. I gritted my teeth and went downstairs. Do you want something? Coffee? Water? Rachel looked at me when I asked. No, nothing. I sat down opposite her on the sofa. We sat facing each other, about 6 feet apart. What happened, Rachel? I thought we were fine. It's hard to explain, Evan. I've worked for Simon all these years. I've always liked him, not, beautifully. But in the last month or so, he started flirting. He made little comments about how good I looked. Sometimes he touched me on my arm or shoulder. I was surprised. Then he invited me to lunch, just us. Didn't you think about all this? This big change in attitude? Didn't you think it was strange? Maybe a little bit, she said, looking down. I was flattered. And he's quite attractive. I found myself interested. It took me a while to admit this. So, you knew that he was trying to seduce you, and you. What did you decide? See what happens. She put her head in her hands, but then raised her eyes again. At this point, I was sure we were screwed because it wasn't a case of her being tricked or pillaged. She wanted this, and we went to dinner. I asked him why he was doing this now, after all this time. He said that he had always wanted me from the very beginning but suppressed this desire. This was his phrase. Rachel, why? What's wrong with me that you were open to him? You're okay, Evan, she said. He said he wanted me so much. He said he wanted me much more than you. I was old hat to you. New for him. Exciting. Just the thought made me horny. Why didn't you talk to me about this? What would I say? Say that I'm thinking about cheating for more excitement? I never thought about it. How many times have you had intimacy with him? Not once. Today was supposed to be the one and only day. But you showed up. I was scared when I saw you. You just looked at me with such contempt, not even hatred or anger, exactly the same as at first. A quick glance, and then you hit him with the baton. I thought, when she said that, I felt the cops should have talked to her first. Then I had to do it. He rushed at me. I saw, but it was so quick and final. Rachel, I don't believe you about this being the first time. I saw him coming through the back door. The door was not locked, and it didn't take me long to get inside and upstairs. But you were both without clothes, and he was about 2 feet away from you. You wanted this too. So I think you've done this before. No, Evan, Simon and I kissed in his car 2 days ago. We felt each other out, but I didn't let him go further. I told him that he could come to our house after you left for work. All this seems so unlikely. Think, if you saw what I saw, what would you believe? I don't know. You have to believe me, or maybe not. I just don't know how to get you to accept what I'm saying. And now I will never be able to accept what you say. What should I do, Evan? I love you. I don't like Simon. He made me want him. How he is so strong. He says what he wants, and he wanted me. And you obviously wanted him. Rachel, I want to really think about this right now. If I decided to do anything now, we would be heading toward divorce. I can never forget what I saw. Fine, but please remember, I love you. I'm so sorry you're hurting. She blurted it out while sobbing. I turned and left. I went upstairs to our home office. I started looking through material from Simon's phone. Rachel's phone had been receiving quite a few calls since about 2 months ago. The calls always came in the evening. He wouldn't have to call at work. There were also texts there. They always talked about lunch. They seemed to go to lunch together about twice a week for 5 weeks since Rachel worked from home 3 days a week. This meant that every day she went to work, she had lunch with Simon. I decided to watch his video. It all started when he followed Rachel up the stairs. She was wearing a short robe. She entered the bedroom and immediately threw him onto the floor. The video wavered for a second as he placed the phone on the dresser and pointed towards the bed. "You are beautiful, Rachel. Exactly as I always imagined." He jumped on the bed, and then I opened the door and hit him. The sound on the video was great. You could hear a loud slap and his scream. I watched it all the way until I picked up the phone to call 911. Based on the video, I wasn't sure if Rachel was telling the truth about it being the first time. Maybe, but of course, she was looking forward to her intimacy with Simon. Maybe it would only be one time like she said, but I doubted it. He was her boss. I went into the living room and told Rachel that I needed to go back to work to close the office. By that time, it was already past 3 in the afternoon. I jogged back. Now, I really didn't care how Rachel felt. I felt less overwhelmed and more angry than before. I shut down what I was doing when I went for a run. I looked up the divorce laws in our state. Adultery was a ground for divorce, although it was not often used. There was no fault in this. This could be done after 8 months of separation if a separation and property agreement were signed. But if one party didn't sign the contract, it would take much longer, maybe 16 months. I wasn't sure if I wanted to divorce Rachel, but I was sure I wanted separation. I drew up an agreement. It basically said that we would separate, live in different places, and split our finances. She would provide for herself, and I would be responsible for myself. There would be no intimate contact between us. In addition, and what is most interesting, each promised not to have a night with other people. If one did this, it would free the other, and the divorce would take place as quickly as possible. I printed 3 copies. I walked home. Rachel was preparing dinner. There wasn't much: spaghetti with meat sauce, salad. She was wearing a tracksuit and no makeup. Barefoot, she looked at me timidly. I said, "It smells good." "Thank you. Can I help?" "I can handle it. But if you want carrots for your salad, they're in the refrigerator." I chopped up some carrots and threw them into a bowl. We ate in relative silence. There was red wine, and we both had a glass. We washed the dishes together. "Let's go to the living room and talk," she said. I saw that Rachel was scared. I followed her inside. Rachel spoke in a quiet voice. "Evan, I want to say again how sorry I am. I want to try to understand how I could have been so wrong. I decided that I needed to see someone. Everything is fine, but now I think we need to break up. I'll find an apartment nearby. You can stay here." "I don't feel comfortable staying here now." "Are you sure?" "I feel so guilty." "Do you want to get a divorce?" "So, shall we part?" This is a step toward this, but I haven't decided yet. I just decided I needed some space to think. I wrote a separation agreement and handed it to Rachel. She read it to the end with tears in her eyes, silent tears. I'd already signed it. She looked up at me. "Can we wait a few days to do this so I can arrange for my mom to come here?" "Well, I can wait a little." "Agree on it." "Why don't you do it and tell me?" "Evan, I meant what I said. I'm going to counseling. Maybe you can come if the consultant asks." "Maybe. I really love you, Rachel, but I'm confused and very, very angry. It feels like I'll never be the same as I was." "Me too. But you did it. Who I thought you were not. The point is that you got caught. But you are the same person. You're just not who I thought you were. Not the woman I loved." Then she burst into tears. I didn't make the slightest move to console her. "The woman I loved would never do this. You are not her. Maybe you're basically her. Maybe not. I feel like our whole life together has been a sham. The only question is, how much of a sham is this?" I went upstairs. I grabbed my belongings from the master bedroom, enough to get me through the next day, and moved into the guest room. The next day was a working day. I hardly slept. I got up early, got dressed, and went to work. I went out around 9 a.m. and bought a McMuffin. I was surprised that I was able to work. I sent several emails, copied notes in the judge's office, then I began to take apart what I had. When I got into it, I forgot about Rachel for a while. Maybe this is how I will have to behave during separation. Over lunch, I looked up apartment rental information. I called one just 2 blocks from work and made an appointment to look at it the next morning. Thursday. The day seemed to fly by. When I thought about it, I decided it was an escape mechanism. I started walking home at about 5:30. We rented a 3-bedroom house. The lease expired in 4 months. We had lived there for 3 years, and this place had begun to feel like home to us. But now, it was no longer for me. I walked along the treadmill and entered the sliding back door, just like the day before. Rachel was cooking. She had fish stew on the stove. It smelled great. She was a very good cook. "Hi," I said. She looked at me. "I cooked fish stew." "Yes, I felt it," I said with a smile. "Thank you." I'll change now. As we ate the stew, Rachel said, my mother will be here on Tuesday. Have you found a place for yourself? Maybe I'll look at the apartment tomorrow. We can sign the papers tomorrow evening. I won't be there on Tuesday anyway. Well, it doesn't have to be this way, Evan. I promise you that this will never happen again. No. Obviously, promises can be easily broken, I replied. She looked at me intently. There were no tears. You know, you let your hurt feelings get in the way of common sense. What would be wise for me to do? Ignore your violent fidelity? If it will not happen, you could try. Don't ignore it. Forgive. I apologize. I really have no idea if I can forgive. I know for sure that I will never be able to forget what happened. What I saw. The video. I can email you a copy. God, Evan, she began to sob. I didn't mean for it to be cruel. Just so you know what I saw. Maybe someday you'll forgive me for being in the way. She ran away. She ran up the stairs. I cleaned everything up. I rented an apartment. It was a studio apartment with a beautiful view of the running track and a small park. It was halfway between work and my former home, but there was no furniture in it. I arranged for a double bed to be delivered, as well as sofas and armchairs. The expenses were painful but necessary. I wondered if Rachel would have a job in the future, or the same one. If not, I'd probably have to increase funding. I sat after lunch, thinking about all sorts of things. I decided that it was very unlikely that I would ever return to Rachel. I had a friend who worked at the same company as Rachel, Carla Monroe. She and I went to college together and were together before I met Rachel. I kind of left her for Rachel, and she kind of left me for a frat guy. We remained in contact as friends. One of the reasons I chose Rachel was that I thought she was a bit flighty. Her quick hookup with a frat boy seemed to confirm this. She left him as quickly as she started. She went to law school with me and married a fellow student. She had a young son and what seemed like a stable marriage. This shows how good I was at reading people. I called her, Carla. This is Evan. Damn, Evan. What are you doing? I heard that you froze Daniels. Not my fault. Self-defense. Evan, I'm free for lunch. Agreed. It's only 4 hours away from here. I met Carla at a restaurant. We hugged, sat down, and ordered. While we were waiting for lunch, she said, well, tell me. I told her everything. She was a person I trusted, and I found that I still trusted her. When I finished my story, she said, I've heard rumors about Simon Harrington, that he's gone off the rails and might be getting a divorce. I also heard that Rachel was dating him. I didn't believe it. Well, what did you hear? What did you see? For example, lunch meetings in the office. Everything else was speculation, but Daniels. I've never seen him so often. He had to change. It was like he was always looking for someone to sleep with. The girls from the office were beside themselves, so Rachel wasn't the only one. Maybe not, but it seemed she was a prime target. They saw each other every day. No offense, but why didn't you call me? I thought about that, but I thought that she wouldn't do anything, and calling you could cause a lot of trouble. What are you going to do? I rented an apartment and wrote a separation agreement. 6 months. You know, but I'm not sure. I hope you at least listen to her. What could she say? She's already apologized and said she will never do that again. So what? This is a difficult question. Yes. How are you and Big Bill and Little Will doing? Little Will is great. He is 3 years old. Dynamo machine. He starts going to preschool soon. Okay, Evan, you don't need to listen to my problems. Yours are much more serious. I could use a break from them. I will help if I can. If something is wrong, nothing special. He has to travel a lot. Sometimes when he returns home, he is distant, not like before. Now, hearing about Rachel, it makes me think. But I just now decided to be proactive. Carla, what does this mean? Maybe check it out a little. He's a good guy. We are family, but I need a little confidence. Just ask him. Talk. You both know how to talk. Figure it out. Tell him how you feel. I'm worried about this. He may take this to mean that I don't trust him. You just be gently diplomatic. Maybe. Thank you. I hope you and Rachel get through this. I was never a friend at school. You know why, but I thought she was good for you. After all, we finished lunch, hugged, and left. Carla was a good woman, and I hoped no harm would come to her. I was told that Rachel had returned to work. I was relieved that she wasn't fired. More and more, I came to the conclusion that it was all over between me and Rachel. We were devoted only to each other. We had no children. She broke her part of the obligations, so it was all over. And I didn't believe that I wanted to start all over again with new responsibilities. It was a depressing conclusion, but I felt it was right. I haven't had any contact with Rachel since I moved in. That Tuesday, a week had already passed. She left 3 messages on my phone asking me to come over and talk. I never answered. She texted me that she was on probation at her job but was still working. I walked past the house the following Tuesday afternoon. I had just gotten off the treadmill and knocked on the patio door. Rachel's mother, Diane, was in the kitchen and opened the door when she saw me. "Hello, Diane. Is Rachel around?" She went out. "She should be back soon, Evan. I mean, she's so confused about this." "Maybe. Have you already decided something?" "I just wanted to talk to Rachel." "Diane, where did she go?" Diane looked a little embarrassed. "She went to her friend." "Diane, you're hiding something. You're bad at it." "Which friend? Did she spend the night here or somewhere else?" "Diane, she was in bad condition. A partner came in, and they went to have something to eat." "Diane, was this dinner yesterday?" "You can't hide it from me." I noticed she was positioned to block the door from the kitchen. I walked past her to the front door. A car pulled up. A brand new Camaro. A blond man was driving. He walked around the car to open the passenger door. Rachel stepped out, dressed for a date. Rachel stepped out, dressed for a date. For yesterday's date. I ran up to them. "Hello, Rachel. I came to see you." She turned around in shock. The guy looked scared and worried. "Evan, this is Derek from work. He had you last night." I was calm, but something in my voice must have scared them both. Derek from work began to back away. "Dude, I don't want any trouble here. I was only trying to help." "Exploitive. You got what you wanted. If you stay here a little longer, you will get much more than you bargained for." He was my height and younger. I saw him straighten up, offended. Rachel screamed, "No, no. Just stop, Derek. Please leave now." Derek said, "Whatever you say, Rachel," emphasizing you, then chuckled, quickly walked around his car, and drove away. I looked at Rachel. "That's all you know? You didn't last even a week." "The agreement said no intimacy. I'm going to refer to this point. I will arrange for you to be served as soon as the papers are ready." "Sorry, Evan. I'm weak, and I needed support. I knew that you and I broke up, but I love you, even if it doesn't seem like it. I think you just needed some new intimacy to get the thrill you missed last week. What a lie you've become. We no longer need to maintain any communication. Hire a lawyer." I walked away, walked around the back of the path, and went home. She made this very simple decision, although I was very surprised. I had been with her for a long time, and none of this crap had ever happened. She was attractive, and men were probably attracted to her often. I wondered why she suddenly started giving in to them. Before returning to my room, I decided that this would forever remain a mystery to me. Or maybe I would ask her mom. I actually had a moment alone with Diane about a week after the last visit. I slipped into the house when Rachel was most likely at work. I knocked on the patio door, and Diane let me in. "Why are you here, Evan?" "I wanted to understand what happened, if possible, and I thought you might have some ideas." "I mean, we were doing great, and then she just went." "Do you have any idea why?" "Maybe she had, I think, problems with self-esteem. She wasn't very attractive to boys throughout most of high school. She had no chest and was skinny. Her 2 friends filled her bra much faster. They were popular and became cheerleaders. Rachel was far behind them when it came to popularity. Gradually, they moved away from her. But when she turned 17, she changed. She gained some weight in all the right places. There was no more acne on her face. The boys began to pay attention to this. She was 18, and then that summer, she went crazy. She worked, but every evening, she went out with her friends and boyfriends. I was afraid that she would get pregnant, but she took the pills. I was worried about illness, but as far as I know, this did not happen. "I see. But when I met her in college, my freshman year, she didn't seem intimacy needy. She always seemed normal to me. However, she was more experienced than me. She told me what she liked and what she wanted. I liked it, but she has never strayed since we started dating." Still, Diane paused and asked, "Are you guys talking about children?" "Yes. We plan to start soon. Now it's all gone." "Well, maybe she was worried that if she got pregnant, men wouldn't like her anymore. I think she contacted her boss because he was stalking her, and she needed some reassurance. This is the best I can guess." "But what about the guy with the Camaro?" "Same reason. A young guy with a luxury car. Proved that she is still attractive. But she already knew, well, that she was unlikely to remain married or give birth to children for me." "Yes, I don't know. Maybe she was just horny." "How long will you stay here?" Not too long. I wish you a good life, Diane. I left. The divorce went through without any problems. Rachel moved out of our rented apartment and rented an apartment on the other side of town, closer to her work. I had no contact with her after the trial. When we went to file our divorce papers, Rachel came up in the hall. Take me to lunch, Evan. Actually, I'll pay. I need to say something. Fine. We went to Olive Garden. I ate the appetizer, and she ate the soup. She looked at me after we ordered. Evan, I really screwed you up. I went to a psychologist. She says I was afraid of children, but I don't know. I think maybe I'm just a born fallen woman. I really wanted Simon to want me. Sorry, I may never understand, Rachel. He's not that big of a catch. What happened to him? He didn't die? And I never heard anything more. He returned to work part-time. He has a cane and uses his right hand very little. His wife divorced him. Good for her. I think it was cruel. You really ruined his life, Evan. Well, you two really ruined my life. But I think not as much as you ruined your own life. By the way, how are you doing? I miss you in our life now. I can have as much intimacy as I want with most men I meet, and I really like it. I get really hot and horny when this happens. I have to do something about it. I don't know why this started happening to me again. Simon reminded me of the guy who took me to prom and then took my untouchable. Maybe I wanted to go back to those glory days. And now you have them. You can have intimacy for your pleasure. Don't be cruel, she laughed. I really didn't mean for it to be funny, but I understood the humor and laughed with her. She said, a new man always turns me on. She paused. Anyway, I really miss you in family life. I haven't found a single guy who is better at intimacy than you. Maybe one was just as good. He's bigger, but you and I got to know each other so well. You could always satisfy me. Very much. I was a fool. I'll admit, I didn't really try to hide it from her, and she noticed. I see. You still find me attractive, Evan? I am available to you at any time. She started singing the song, Just Say My Name, and you know wherever I am, I will come running to see you again. She smiled at me. Oh, Rachel. God, I was in a trance right then and there. Rachel was the hottest woman alive. At least to me. I wanted her more than any other woman I had ever met. Our waitress came over with our food. Rachel stood up and threw $36 on the table. She turned to the waitress. Something has changed. We have to leave right now. I woke up. Rachel and the waitress looked at my crotch at the same time. Rachel blushed, and the waitress, whose name tag said Holly, blushed and looked confused for a moment. Then she broke out into a wide smile. I see that you two need to go out now. I finish at 6. She was nice. Rachel grabbed my hand and gave her an angry look. She dragged me outside. Her apartment was 2.5 blocks away. We walked through the main door and took the elevator up. As soon as the elevator door closed, Rachel pounced on me. She pressed me against the wall and rubbed her whole body. This will be so great, Evan. I'll pin you to the bed. Fine. I was breathing heavily. The elevator door opened. 2 women stood behind the door. Rachel and I exited the elevator. The women were stunned. We rushed past them. One said, "Hi, Rachel." Rachel didn't answer. The door to her apartment opened. She pulled me inside. I almost fell over the end table. Our intimacy was quick but intense. I figured if I stayed with her, we'd be at it again soon, and it could have serious health consequences, at least for me. The divorce took place in the morning. Rachel and I did this all day until late at night. We ate a light meal. I suggested that we could go back to Olive Garden, but she firmly refused. She said we had soup from the refrigerator. We didn't even get dressed to eat. She looked at me after we finished the cake she had with her. Should we talk now? Now? Or after intimacy? I never hesitated. I stood up, took her hand, and said, "Damn." That's what we did several more times that night. They were all fantastic. Some were slow, some were hard. She was right that I knew all her buttons, and she knew mine. At times, intimacy felt like an all-out war to see who could make the other swoon. Nobody won this game, but it was a lot of fun to play. In the morning, we had a night again, and she made breakfast. While we were eating, I decided that we needed to discuss what had happened. Rachel, I hope we can continue like this. Divorce intimacy was much better than honeymoon night. Evan, now I know that it was a mistake for me to get married. I thought that I could keep my promise to be only yours. I tried to, but now I know that I can't do this. This obviously doesn't mean I want you out of my life. I wasn't kidding when I sang the Derek Taylor song, but the time will come. Rachel paused, looking at me with a mixture of sadness and determination. I want to settle down and have children, Maybe that's part of what brought you to other guys. So, I like intimacy with you. You are the best. You'll probably always be the best I've ever had. I just think we could keep this up until one of us has some reason to stop. Fine, let's get on with it now, I replied, a bit weary from the emotional roller coaster of the past few days. We spent the entire weekend in bed, except for short breaks to eat, shower, and use the toilet. On Tuesday afternoon, there was a knock on the door. Rachel put on a robe and opened it. It was the woman who spoke to her as we were exiting the elevator earlier. She was older but still looked good. "Hi, Rachel," she said. "I haven't seen you for a while. I just wanted to check if you were okay. Moreover, I'm doing well, Fiona." "Very good," Rachel smiled back at me. Fiona looked at me. I was wearing gym shorts and not hiding anything, but Rachel and I were kissing, and I was horny, even though I was covered up well. "Well, I understand you just keep having a good time. You're a lucky girl, Rachel." Rachel smiled back, saying, "I won't worry anymore." "Thank you, Fiona. I'm sure we will." Rachel quietly closed the door and giggled. "You gave her a good look at the product. Maybe you should have invited her for coffee. She would like it with cream." "I can't let this happen too much." "Too much cholesterol," I replied. She pulled my shorts off. On Tuesday, we both went to work. We hadn't settled anything completely, but all day I thought about what had happened. I would never ever consider any permanent relationship with Rachel. This could not be a partnership, but as long as we had supercharged nights, I was ready for it. Until I met someone I wanted to marry and have children with. Of course, you need to be very careful in this matter. Rachel taught me a hard lesson, but despite this, I wanted a family and children. I was on guard. Rachel wasn't like that. She had me and 3 other guys she slept with. We weren't married, and I didn't mind. In fact, the thought of her being so exploitive even turned me on. I just got tested regularly for STDs. None of them were ever positive. Oh, and I met Fiona one day while leaving Rachel's. We had quick intimacy that day. Me and Rachel. Fiona looked me up and down with a very significant look. "Hello. Maybe you remember me?" "I definitely remember you. You make a good tent." "I really remember you, Fiona." "Rachel says you're divorced?" "Yes, for a year and a half already. It's no fun being a single woman my age." "Fiona, you look great for any age, and you know it. Are you going to invite me in?" "I'm sure about it." "You're Evan, right?" "Yes." We went up to the 4th floor where Fiona's apartment was, across the hall from Rachel's. When we were at Fiona's door, Rachel came out of hers. She looked at me and Fiona and started laughing. "You're a real stud, Evan. I would never have thought this about you when we were married." She looked at Fiona and said, "Have a wonderful time." Fiona smiled at Rachel as she walked away with a smooth gait. "Fiona, Evan is a top-notch stallion," Rachel called out. I followed Fiona inside, and she showed me the bedroom. It was tastefully furnished, at least when we walked in. Fiona was 36. She had a son in college and a daughter who worked downtown. She was good in bed, and I really enjoyed being with her. I left the next morning, promising to keep in touch. It was a pleasure for me. I began to wonder what other women lived on the 4th floor, but I never found out. One day, I was walking past the courthouse when a woman walking toward me stopped and asked, "We don't know each other?" She looked puzzled. I remembered her. "Holly the waitress?" Oh, she blushed. "Now I remember. It's strange that I forgot, but I didn't really look at your face. You'll have to excuse me. I'm Evan. Are you still working there?" "Part-time work. I also do modeling." She was a pretty blonde, slim with good hips and blue eyes. I remembered that she invited me to meet her at 6, but alas, Rachel and I were together all weekend. "Are you guys consistent?" "No, well, on the day that we met you, we had just returned from court where our divorce was finalized. Somehow this seemed to energize us, as you saw." "Okay, this is strange. Does this still work?" "We are dating. There's no doubt that we are compatible in some ways, not in others." She smiled at me. "Maybe you should ask me out on a date. I'm not working today." "I like your words. Can we have dinner tonight at my house?" "I will cook." "I look forward to it." "With pleasure," I replied. That evening, she arrived around 6:30. She looked stunning in a short evening dress and sandals. I made us fried chicken and fried rice. We talked. She was 27 and made ends meet by working as both a model for several clothing magazines and as a waitress. She wasn't married but had broken up with her long-term boyfriend about 10 months ago. At the time, I was 30 and making good money at a law firm. I had my own apartment and a good car. April, Fiona, and I had our own sessions. I also had a friendly relationship with a woman who worked at the courthouse. Maybe twice a month, but I was willing to commit, and Holly seemed nice. I decided to have an affair with her and see where it leads. That first night, we agreed that I would take her home. She kissed me at her door. I was excited about this, but she didn't jump straight into bed. As we moved forward, I began to fall in love with her. She was pretty and smart, and I believe that she fell in love with me. On our third date, we made it to bed. It was nice. I made love to her, and she seemed to appreciate it. I decided to break up with the other women. One night, a few weeks later, Holly and I had just finished a rough intimate session. We didn't always have loving intimacy. She liked it rough sometimes, just like me. Like many people, I think. Holly, I told you about my marriage and its problems, and now I think I'm in love with you, I told her. I stopped having intimacy with other women. I'm glad to hear that. Since I met you, you're the only boyfriend I've had. I didn't even kiss anyone. I really love you, Evan. But I worry about your insecurities about fidelity. Will you always distrust me? Because if I say that I will only be with you, I will do so. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't worried. But if you promise me, I for my part will do everything possible to solve the problem of fidelity. Fine. Deal. I will be faithful, and you will be faithful too. 2 weeks later, I proposed. We got married 3 months later. Her parents lived in Chicago, but we held our ceremony here. It wasn't luxurious. I invited Rachel and Fiona. I introduced Holly to Rachel right after I proposed. Rachel was kind to her, but I could see that she was a little depressed. We weren't in love, but I knew she would miss the intimacy. I would feel that way too. Holly and I went to the Bahamas for our honeymoon. It was great. Then we moved into my apartment, and everything went very well. We immediately decided to have children, and we succeeded twice in 3 years, Caleb and Naomi. I became a partner in a firm and bought a house in a nearby suburb. I kept in touch with Rachel, not the hot one. She married the guy from her job a year after Holly and I. His name was Noah Bryant. He was successful, and she had a son, Julian, and another, Miles. They moved to a place not far from Holly and me. The 4 of us would meet each other in the area. Then the children went to the same play school. Holly and Rachel became friends, but Larry was very wary of me. I think he didn't trust me around Rachel, and he was right. The attraction between Rachel and me still existed. Holly knew it, but she trusted me. After a while, she even trusted Rachel that she would not try to get closer to me. But Larry, who could sometimes see sparks flying, never calmed down. Nevertheless, he and I had common interests, mainly baseball. We were on the same men's team in the Old Timers League, and we were both good at it. We also received season tickets to the local MLB games. We were both fans. Sometimes he and I went together. One day, I decided to talk openly with him about my relationship with Rachel before and now. We were waiting to leave the garage at Harper Field after the game. I turned to him. Larry, I want to make it very clear to you that I will never have intimacy with Rachel again. She is married. I'm married. This won't happen. I can see that this is bothering you, God. Evan, this is a direct way to approach it. You and I could be good friends if you trusted me and Rachel. But Evan, it's obvious that you two, with your history, still have lust, to put it bluntly. I can't deny it. There is a story there. We were compatible, but I give you my word. I'm sure she told you the same thing. We need to end this if we can. Evan, I get the impression that I just see you two occasionally, like at the club dance last month. If anything, it seems like you had some amazing intimate experiences together. And you know, it's annoying. Sometimes I wonder who she thinks about when we have intimacy. About me, or about you, or about some movie star. Do you think about her when you're with Holly? No, but that doesn't mean I don't think about her at all. We had some good times, too. Maybe better times. Maybe better than ever with me. That's what really worries me, Larry. I had good intimacy with Rachel when we were married, and but after the divorce, it was just intimacy. Love is gone. She was always good at intimacy, as did several others I've been with. I have good intimacy with Holly. Sometimes it's great. Rachel was no better than Holly, or others might be just as good. It's love that makes our night special. You have it with Rachel, and I have it with Holly. Okay, I understand what you're saying. I didn't think of it that way. Thank you. And that made it easier for all 4 of us to have this conversation. Of course, I lied to him. No intimacy I've ever had with any woman has been as good as I had with Rachel. After the divorce, I'm still thinking about it. Not exactly every day, but I see her and know that she thinks about it too. Maybe if Rachel and I are both in our 80s and our spouses leave, and we're in some nursing home, maybe we'll see if we can outlive each other. I've thought about all of this as I sit in my new life. Thanks for watching. Do you think trust can ever be rebuilt after betrayal? Let us know in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe.